Jon Gruden used racial trope to describe NFLPA chief DeMaurice Smith in 2011 emailed the Wall Street Journal. On July 21st, 2011, National Football League and its players were working to resolve a lockout that threatened the upcoming season. That day, the league owners voted to ratify a new collective bargaining agreement, but the players opted not to vote on it immediately, citing outstanding issues that the union was fighting to resolve. That same day, Jon Gruden, the current Las Vegas coach, Raider coach, who has been one of the most prominent figures in the NFL over the past 2 decades, sent an email to DeMaurice Smith, the executive director of the NFL Player Association, to a team executive. Gruden's email describes Smith was a racist trope common in anti-black imagery. Boris Smith has lips the size of Michelin tires, he wrote in the email. The NFL is reviewing Gruden's status with the Raiders for potential discipline. Yesterday, the tweet comes out and saying that Adam Schefter, I think, came out and said he is probably going to he's going to get fired. And then announcement was made that he resigned.
Yeah.
And Jon Gruden is no longer the head coach of the Raiders, which they were off to a decent start. And there's a couple other stories that came out as well, but that's what I'm going to stop right here. If you got any comments, Adam, I'm going to start with you first.
Well, this really resonated with me when I saw Randy Moss weigh in on this over the weekend. Did you see Randy Moss break down in tears? Look, I think the NFL is 70% black. Okay, it's clear that less than 20% of the NFL coaches are black. I think it's 10% of the GM or the front office that are black. And this was just, I'm not saying that Jon Gruden's a racist. I am saying that he's a fucking idiot. He completely lost his locker room. What's Al Davis's son's name? Mark Davis,
yeah.
Okay, they were known for the bad boys of the NFL, but this is not the bad boys that you want to be these days. Okay, so he's lost the locker room. If 70% of your team is black, how do they even respect you at this point? You know what you're doing when you're calling dumb Morris Smith and using racist tropes like huge lips or the size of Michelin tires. Apparently, he was also using some anti-gay slurs about Michael Sam, the gay guy that was
Rams.
That was drafted by the Rams. He was talking major crap about Roger Goodell, calling him a P-U-S-S-Y and a F-A-G-G, whatever.
I'm sure he's the first person ever that called Goodell.
No, I'm sure.
Words.
Well, Goodell gets hated on a lot, but I think at the end of the day, he was a complete distraction. And if he stayed on as coach, this is something that the Raiders would be dealing with all year. And I don't think it's ironic that they've lost their last 2 games since this has kind of been out in the news, and they lost to a not that good of a Bears team with a rookie quarterback over the weekend. He's lost the team, and he had to go.
Okay. Listen, we saw with Brett Kavanaugh, and in your interview with the Facebook moderator, the fact that anybody can read any message that's ever been on any Facebook platform, WhatsApp, Instagram. If we're all going to be adjudicated for shit that we said 10, 11, 12 years ago, there's going to be a lot of people that got a lot to fucking answer for, boy. Let me tell you. All right? And I'll also say, and I'll be controversial, okay? Black people are not a protected species. You can't just say that he said something that can be construed as racist, and that's a career death sentence. All right, especially in a league where Deshaun Jackson said anti-Semitic things.
Deshaun Watson?
No, Deshaun
Jackson, the
Jackson
receiver,
said anti-Semitic things that were. I mean, he quoted a man who quoted Hitler. He didn't lose his job in the league.
He quoted Farrakhan, I believe.
Didn't lose his job in the league. I mean, I think that what Jon Gruden did is stupid, inadvisable. He thought that what he was saying was private. He was probably trying to be edgy in a private conversation. Also sent naked photos of women and stuff like that. It's a bad look. It's a bad look for the guy who's the CEO of the organization. I get all that, but he should have never apologized, first of all, because the people that have a problem with this stuff, they're never going to be like, okay, well, he apologized. He's going to learn from it. No, never freaking apologize. That's number one. Never backpedal. If you believe in your heart of hearts that you're not actually racist, if you believe in your heart of hearts that you're not actually misogynist, and this is just the language that you grew up in, the times that you grew up in, then explain it like that. All right? But as soon as you backpedal, as soon as you apologize, you give credence to your accusations. Okay? That's number one. Number two, if the NFL really has a problem with homophobic slurs, and misogyny, then how in God's name is Snoop Dogg, Eminem, and Dr. Dre the halftime performance this year?
Why'd you take my shit?
I'm just saying, if
You're
you
so
really,
right.
if you
Absolutely.
really have a problem, and I love Eminem, and I love Dr. Dre, and I love Snoop Dogg's music, okay? But if this is really an issue, then how are they your Super Bowl halftime?
There's a difference between a performer who comes in for 15 minutes at halftime.
Adam, just call it what it is. There's a difference between a white guy saying it and a black guy. Just say what it is.
I don't think that's what it is.
No,
I think
like,
if a black guy said this about white people, he'd be fired too.
How? Deshaun Jackson, we literally just showed
Didn't
it.
happen.
That's a one wide receiver. This is the face of your team. You have to lead. You have to be a
Coach
leader.
is the face of the team?
Of the Raiders, for sure. They brought him out of the announcing booth. He hasn't coached in 15 years.
Okay.
And they made him everything for the Raiders.
So to your point,
it's not like he's some scrub wide receiver that goes from team to
Deshaun
team.
Jackson's not a scrub.
That guy's been on 12 teams in 12 years.
Right, so you got Gruden, 10 years, $100 million. They're like, let's get him out of here so we can save some money. I don't know. 3-2, right, is the record that they currently have. Look, this is back in July of 2011. This is bullshit. This is bullshit. You're bringing up stuff from like 10 years ago of this stuff. Like, if it was that damn serious, people do what they want to do. If you really thought this was an issue, you would have done something then, what you should have done. So, Roger Goodell, all you people that were involved, raise your hand and say, well, I didn't really care about it 10 years ago, but I sure do now. And explain, because we need an explanation. Because, you know what? If they pulled up something from me 10 years ago, they say, Phil, you thought this way? I'd be like, yeah, back then, but I don't do now. And no, like at the end of the day, what Gerard is saying is right. You run a sports organization, okay? When you have certain people perform at the biggest event pretty much in our country, which is the Super Bowl, right? Billions of dollars involved. And you have people like Eminem that have said the word F-A-G-G-O-T plenty of times, and the stuff that Snoop Dogg has said plenty of times, you got to call a spade a spade. Here it is, Adam, that's a spade. You're going to call it or not? Because they are representing your brand during that time. If they were, okay, let me ask you this. If R. Kelly wasn't, behind bars, and he was supposed to do the Super Bowl, what would your thoughts would be? You say, hell no, he's not representing the NFL, this and that and the other, but you got these guys representing the Super Bowl.
Here you go. Eminem from 2012. Ready? I may fight for gay rights, especially if the dyke is more of a knockout than Janae Rice. Play nice, bitch. I'll punch Lana Del Rey in the face twice, like Ray Rice, in broad daylight, in plain sight of elevator surveillance. Till the head is banging on the railing, then celebrate with the Ravens.
And what team
Name one thing.
And what team does Eminem coach?
He's performing for the entire nation.
So let me process
the
this.
NFL.
Let me hang on. I'm trying because there is a point here. So what you're saying is the comment is irrelevant. It's the status of the individual making the comment is what you're saying.
Sure.
Okay. So you're saying a player can get away with making any comment at all, and a rapper can get away with it, but not a head coach. That's what you're saying.
I did not say any comment. A player can't get away with any. We saw what happened with the guy on the Heat who said some.
To Luka Montrezl?
No. What was the center? Miles.
He said something anti-Semitic, right?
Yeah, I forget his name.
What happened to him?
He was released from the team. He was injured. He's gone.
Okay.
Players can get it too. You got to understand. If you're the coach of the team, NFL is very fickle. If the sentiment of the team, or if the mood of the team sways a little bit, they're looking for heads to roll.
So I got a few issues
This is
with
the
this.
coach of the team.
I don't
saying this.
I think you make a good point there, and I think that's something to process. To say a leadership person is held to a different.
Myers Leonard is the guy I'm thinking about.
Okay,
from the Heat.
so now you ready?
Said some stuff.
Now you ready for this?
Yeah.
Now you ready for this? Okay. When he said it, was he a head coach?
He was an announcer, I believe.
So he's not. So he didn't. He never made that comment as a head coach. He made that comment as an announcer. But wait, let's go through each. He made that comment as an announcer working for who at the time? 10 years ago.
He was a former NFL coach.
Who was he working? No.
He was the coach of the Tampa
totally
Bay Bucks. They
that.
won a Super Bowl in
But who when
03
when he
or
made
something?
that comment? Who was he working for?
ESPN.
Okay.
Yeah,
so you don't think ESPN knew about that?
I don't know. Maybe they did. I don't know.
No, but wait a minute. Let's actually process this. You don't think ESPN knew about that comment made 10 years ago?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't want to speculate and say yes or no.
Let's
I don't
just
know. It was an
speculate.
email.
Are you leaning more towards yes or no?
I literally don't know what ESPN
But if you
knew
were
or
to
didn't
play
know.
odds, Vegas, gambling, are you leaning towards yes or no?
I'm not.
What do you
I don't
think?
even
Do you
know.
think ESPN knew?
No.
Okay, you think ESPN knew?
I don't think so. Just because, I mean, where was the data located, off of someone's server or something?
Yeah,
like that?
this is
an email.
This is
a
coming
data
out,
leak,
this
right?
is coming out because of sexual harassment allegations within the Washington football team. They've been.
So you mean to tell me Smith, the guy he sent the executive the email to, you think he's kept it a secret for 10 years?
But he didn't
He
send
sent
it
it to
to
Bruce
him,
Allen.
though.
He sent it to Bruce Allen.
And he's kept it a secret for 10 years?
Maybe not.
Okay. I'm not convinced ESPN didn't know.
You think ESPN knew?
I'm 55% they knew. And I'm convinced ESPN's kind of like, look, guys, this cannot be tarnishing ESPN. We are a clean image. There's no way this can come out. Now he's a head coach of the Raiders, $100 million contract, $60 million guarantee, all this other stuff. Screw it. You know, let's now bring it out because there's other stuff coming in. Throw that email in there as well. Okay, cool. So people hang on to stuff for a long time, by the way. Just so you know, this isn't the first time that somebody's hang on to an email with somebody. You push a little bit too much. And he made some bad comments about Biden and Obama.
Created some enemies,
Let's not. Can you go pull up what comments he made about Obama and Biden? But I'm going to go to a different angle here.
Yeah.
I'm going to go to a different. So that's one area. I understand the coach thing. When you're a coach, you have to be careful with the words, what you're saying. Let me go to the next part.
Especially when 70% of your players, if not more, are black.
When he made the comment, he worked for ESPN. ESPN should have fired him if they knew about this.
It's important to mention this, though, and I do believe him when he says this, because in the email, he praised Gene Upshaw, who is black. If he really meant DeMaurice Smith
Biden.
as this was like a racial
Obama
trope.
and Biden.
He claims he meant it as lying. This guy's lying, right? And in the context of the context of the rest of the email, it makes sense. He's talking about him as a liar.
I have to state one fact here. How old do you think Jon Gruden is?
50.
Kai, do you want me to do it?
54.
He's 58 years old.
He's 58.
So these emails that came out 7-10 years ago, he's a 50-year-old man. Okay, making these dumbass comments,
Talking to his friend.
I don't care who he's talking to. You're a head coach. You're a face of the NFL. It's not like he's 18. Like, if someone's 16, 18, 20, and they make some dumb stuff, they have some time to grow up.
I know your mother. I know your mother wants to be a
50-year-old man.
I know your mother wants to be a rabbi. Let me tell you, bro. You're 40 years old. You ain't no rabbi, dog. I listen
I'm
to
not
it.
saying I'm a rabbi.
You're a 40-year-old making some weird comments when we're off camera.
Yeah.
Let's not
I'll say it on camera. I don't give a shit.
No. There are some stuff that you say off camera that you would never say on camera.
I probably say worse stuff on camera than off camera.
I disagree. But let me go to my next point. Okay, fine. You're saying he was 50 years old. Here's my next point. He made a few comments about Obama and Biden. If you can find that, well.
But are you saying you're defending Jon Gruden? What's your stance on this?
Can I go through my 12
I want to.
points?
I don't know.
Here's my next point.
12 points.
My 2 points.
Oh,
my
sorry.
Next point is this. What's the value of an apology?
Nothing. Nada, zip, zilch, zero.
What is the value of an apology to you?
I tend to agree with Gerard that apologizing is just
means
like,
nothing.
I won't say it means nothing, but I don't.
You know what is very irritating
Yeah.
is because when commentators who defend players who are about to get fired, they say, "Give the man a break." We've all made he at least apologized. What are we here judging this man? We've never done anything before, so everything is about the argument that makes sense. So Montrezl Harrell said, "Bitch-ass white boy" to Luka. How good of a word is that, by the way? I mean, if you want to go through it, that's as bad as it gets. Okay,
I've been called a bitch-ass white boy on the basketball court 10,000 times.
Should Montrezl Harrell be fired?
No, but he's just one player. I think you have to distinguish between a player, like a Deshaun Jackson type, or a Myers Leonard, or the head coach of a team who's leading men.
Montrezl Harrell is a grown man. He's a grown man. The moment you're that age, you're a grown man. Over. You're a grown man. You're no longer a kid.
But he's not a leader.
He's a leader for his community.
He's a player.
No, that's not how this works. You can't change standards on different people, bro.
I'm not. What am I?
A standard for a coach and a player is the same thing. What standard?
Oh
do you
no,
have?
I totally disagree.
Okay, so that's on you, though. By the
You
way,
could be you could have zero standards as a player.
Then it has nothing to do with the comment.
So you're saying LeBron James is not the leader?
Now, you're going to say the best player of all time, other than Michael Jordan, is yes, he's a leader. The 12th man,
coach, right? Yes.
The 12th man. That's like
what Montrezl
the 12th
Harrell
man on the
did,
bench is not a leader.
Pat, it's very clear. All right, and Adam, you've won me over. It's very, very clear that what Montrezl Harrell did was mostly peaceful, whereas these emails are clearly an insurgency into, something that.
Yeah, I don't know. Gerard's got to go conspiracy theorist. If you're gonna lead men, you need to set an example.
Okay, Gruden reportedly aimed homophobic slurs at Goodell in several instances, as well as using the offensive language to describe NFL owners, coaches, and media. Even Barack Obama, Joe Biden were reportedly mentioned in Gruden's email, with Gruden ripping Obama during his 2012 re-election campaign and referring to Biden as Biden as a nervous, clueless. What would those other 4 letters after PB? I don't know. But anyways,
Pixie.
Pixie. Yeah.
Pixie.
So look, all I'm saying is if you're going to put the standards of words, it's got to be across the board.
I disagree.
You're good. You have the right to disagree with it. But if you're going to say a word is that offensive to a sport, stay consistent. Roger Goodell.
I am
Show us a level of consistency.
So any player that says something, you're cut. You're
gone. What I'm trying to I don't think you should. I don't think you should cut the guy. I think when you're in, that environment, I don't think you should. Okay, coaches. Are most coaches like very proper Tony Dungy type of coaches? No. How are coaches?
Loudmouth, crazy.
You know who's scared right now?
Mouth?
You know who's scared right now?
All coaches?
The Ryan coach. Who's the Ryan coach from the Jets?
Ryan?
Rex Ryan's got to worry right now. You know who else has got to worry? 90% of these guys got to worry right now of what they've said. So what are you going to do? Everybody, you know what just happened in the last 24 hours? In the last 24 hours, probably 7 million emails have been deleted in the NFL.
Oh, my God. Shred it all. Dude,
everybody had a meeting and said, delete everything.
Pat, I was an all-state linebacker my senior year, and my coach called me baloney tits every day in practice, all right? So, come on.
I call you that every day here.
That's why I like you, dude.
Did they fire the guy or no?
No.
I'm offended for saying that. But let's go find the guy.
I got to tell you, man, and again, this is controversial. I really don't care. I'm sick of people treating black people like they have no agency. I'm sick of it like, oh, God, how could he possibly have said something so horrible?
What happens if he used the N-word?
But
Fired?
he didn't.
But
he did.
I'm asking you an example.
Okay, if he did that.
If he did, fireable?
Yeah.
If he called someone a monkey or an ape, is that fireable?
Is it? Oh, okay.
In what context?
No, I'm saying.
In what context?
I'm asking you as a black man.
Oh, you're saying if a
Look
white...
at Demetrius Morris Smith, this ape. Is that fireable? If you called him the N-word, that's fireable, though, right?
Okay, but these are
so words do matter.
But he did not.
So words do matter.
I get it.
So there's a slippery slope.
But you're saying words matter more if
words
they're
matter,
said,
but for who though? You got to
words
stay
matter. Do words matter more if they're said from a white person to a black person?
That's what I was going to say because I mean,
I'm not even looking at this as a black and white.
Well, you
thing
made it.
Well,
they literally they are. They're
They
calling
are.
it racist, misogynistic.
Is only one angle.
I agree.
Right.
However, Myers Leonard is a white guy who said.
How many times has Snoop Dogg said the N-word and he's performing at halftime? I mean, this is what I'm saying, dude.
How many times? Well, that's a whole other conversation we can have about black people saying the N-word. There's black people that wholeheartly disagree with black people saying that, and there's black people saying, no, that empowers me. We can go an hour on that topic.
Yeah.
But, at the end of the day, there is a difference between a coach. Like, Pat, you're a CEO of a company.
Yep.
To use your example, is there a big difference between you as the CEO or Matt Sapala being the CDO or Alexis Moody being, marketing director, whatever, versus some random salesperson who just came to the organization last year? There's a big difference, right?
Montrezl Harrell is not a random salesperson.
But there is a difference, though.
Montrezl Harrell is not a random
salesperson.
Okay,
Jon Gruden really lost
I'm asking you in the business context.
Yeah.
There is a difference between being the CEO, a C-suite executive, and then just a regular salesperson. So for standards-wise, there is.
Do you think Jon Gruden really lost?
Let me get through
Do you think he really lost the locker room?
There is some set of standards.
That's why I gave you credence at the beginning, where I said I think we have to give credence to your argument. I said yes.
I just think there's a difference between being a leader or a founder or a CEO versus a random salesperson.
But I think you have to know when you're a player, and you have some of these players have more followers than these coaches. So that's an influencer. Not even LeBron, Montrezl Harrell, Jon Gruden, Montrezl. Some of these players have more followers than coaches. They're an influencer. You make a comment like that, I'm sorry. You're also
followers,
you're being
social media-wise.
That is a form of a leader.
Sure.
That is a form of an influencer. That is a form of an example. What?
I know a lot of slutty models with millions and millions of followers.
Well, that's your community, though.
Yeah, that is my community. But I'm not saying that they're leaders.
Yeah. But
leaders are taking their clothes off.
In a space like this, who's getting
you're saying if it's all just based on followers, that's who leaders
like
are?
This, if you want to, but in OnlyFans, like your slutty friends you're talking about, okay, whatever you're talking about, this community, right?
I'm just saying followers doesn't mean you're a leader.
But the point in that community is that's across the board. No one cares. This is a sport. There is a regulator at the top who his name is Roger Goodell, who's the commissioner. He wants to clean house to say some of these things are not accepted. You got to clean it up. Then you got to keep that consistency across the board. Very clear. You can't just say you can say it, but this person cannot say it. You got to clean house and make it very standard.
Why do they weaponize these emails like this? I mean, especially during the season. I mean, there wasn't like an investigation where, it took some weeks on end and, like there's no system in place to say, hey, John, this is what we present to you. We need to really have a chat about this. You weren't working for, as a coach, like what Pat said. How do you feel about this? Because we haven't had, and Jon Gruden could say, well, I haven't had any interaction like this over the past 10 years. So what are we talking about? What infractions do I have currently with this organization? Well, there's none, but 10 years ago you said this and this, and, you called me a PU, whatever, and maybe you need some sensitivity training, this and that. Okay, so...
By the way,
what are we talking about here? Like, I mean,
do you think he lost the locker room? Do you think?
I don't think he lost the locker room. I mean, like, there would be more players standing up and stuff like that. I think definitely what happens when this news comes out. Look, I'm 41. I'll be 42 this year. I mean, we're all relatively. You're the youngest. I'm not 23. I'm not 25, making $50 million or whatever. I could easily at 25. I could say, you know what? I could hear maybe from like a seasoned veteran, like I should be pissed, and maybe I just follow. I don't know, because that does happen in the locker room.
By the way, what happened? What happened to the coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars?
Urban Meyer.
Urban Meyer versus this. So
if there's anybody that's excited about this news, it's him. He was all up in the news for 2 weeks straight. Now he's
talk about a guy who lost the locker room. That guy lost the locker room.
Okay, so
why? Because he got a lap dance from a 25-year-old.
Because he didn't come back on the team flight, and then he did that BS for sure. Yeah.
Which is worse?
What
Urban Meyer did or what Jon Gruden did?
Well, we're talking about
honestly, like if I was in the locker room, I'd be like, I don't know if I would give a shit about Jon.
But which
Gruden.
is worse?
From a player's perspective?
From just an actual human being's perspective.
See,
I could give a shit if a coach called me big lips.
Okay,
I'm just gonna say it.
But you care that he got a lap dance?
Do you care if someone calls you, said you've said this before, someone making fun of you or whatever, saying
I got a big
nose and big ears?
No,
I could give two shits. I could give two
Yeah.
fucks. I'm just gonna say it. Sorry, but for the F word, but I could care less.
Okay.
I've been called all kind of stuff playing ball in college and high school. Oh my gosh. Back then, you could actually have your coach grab you. Back in the 90s and stuff.
So what Urban Meyer did was worse?
I'm saying, like,
Urban Meyer bailed on his team.
Yeah, I think that was wrong.
Because he didn't take a flight back with his team?
Yeah, he didn't take a flight back
to
with his
after
team
a
for
loss.
sure.
After a loss?
Okay.
No, you
He stayed at his bar.
You
And
fly
by the
your
way,
ass.
Why? Because he was getting drunk with some chick?
He stayed at his
his own
bar.
bar.
He stayed at his bar.
I mean,
he did.
Okay.
Okay,
I don't have a huge problem with whatever.
Bro,
I'd be more upset if his wife. What the fuck were you doing?
Yeah, but
if I'm his player, it's like, all
Bro,
right,
you're a
bro.
CEO of a company.
about
You're a
bailing
CEO of
on
a
you,
company
bro.
that's
Well,
worth $1
by the
billion
way,
and
by
you
the
do
way,
some shit like that.
This,
Come on.
This is
Employees are going to be like, what the hell, man? Like, you're not supposed to be doing that. You're supposed to be on the private back with us.
I got to take the jet back, but you don't. I've got to take the jet back. That's what ends up happening.
So Urban Meyer's worse in your eyes than Jon Gruden.
I don't know if again. Listen, if the team came out, all right, and this I'll give you this. If the team came out and they were like, you know what, we can't be led by this man, I'd say okay. You know what?
Don't you think those conversations were taking place
According to
internally?
According to
Why
what I
would
was
Mark
reading,
Davis, son of Al Davis, badass dude, fire the guy or ask him to resign?
Because
there
I think
must have been some rumbling.
I think there
you
was
ever
pressure
seen Randy
from outside
Moss,
the organization.
arguably a top 5 receiver of all time, break down in tears on ESPN?
But it's outside
Broke
the
down in
organization.
tears.
I don't think it's inside the organization. I think the pressure came from outside the organization.
I think it's probably a little bit of both. I think you're right that it was definitely outside the Goodells of the world, but I think internally they're like, nah. Dude,
How much does Gruden walk away with?
Depends on how much was guaranteed, right?
$60 million, right?
Whatever. Like that's the whole thing. And if there's any sport that is very cruel to you.
You pointy nose motherfucker. Give me my $60 million.
Yeah, exactly. I'll take it.
Does Gruden come back?
Call me whatever you want, bro.
Does Gruden come back?
Don't worry,
Call me whatever you want.
Don't worry, bro. I got you. I'll bridge you up.
Call me pointy all you want.
Right. You know what I'm saying? Man, this is crazy.
Anyway.
We live in a crazy world, man.
Can you imagine how milk will toast every email from now on and through the end of history is going to be?
Bro,
What? I guess here's a different question. What's a statute of limitations? So if you did it last year, that's wrong. Obviously, last year you did it. Pre-pandemic, 2 years ago. That's still relatively recent. That's wrong. But 5 years ago, is that? Is it 4? Like, what's the number of years that's acceptable to go back?
I'll take what you're saying and I'll take it a step further. How about like the words that we used 10 years ago that are considered like slurs now were just everyday language 10 years ago. Like you talked about the F word. Like we use that word all the time, that F-A-double-G word, and it had nothing to do with being gay. It just meant like you were like you were a wimp.
I think that,
you know what I'm saying?
I think
like,
just the 3-letter word of that was very used.
Nonstop.
The 6-letter word, not as much.
You have no idea.
You used that word before?
Which word?
Row. That's it. Get out.
That's it.
Get out.
You used the
Thanks,
3-letter word. Yeah, I've used it.
You used that before?
I've used it.
Guys, get him off the podcast.
I'll take care of it.
Get him off the podcast.
I don't feel safe.
No,
in
no,
this
get him off right now,
I'm so
Kai.
sorry you had to hear this.
Yes.
I'm so sorry.
First of all,
I'm so
Listen,
fragile
you
right now.
baloney tits mother sucker, listen to me.
so if you enjoyed this little short segment from the podcast that we did, here's another short segment to watch. Or if you want to see the entire podcast, click over here. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.